To actually sit down and talk to clients about aspects of design, why buildings arrive at the solutions that they do to solve problems of landscape and views and constructability and things like that. It's a nice long conversation, which should not be sort of simply a series of style images, for example. My name's Mike Vail. I'm a local architect designer. I've been down here for probably 20 odd years working in this area. This is the Northern Illawarra. It's really sort of defined by being north of Bulli Pass generally, and it's south of the Royal National Park. It's a very special little pocket of land which is between the ocean and the escarpment, and it has its own microclimate in many respects. There's always an issue when you're designing around here in relation to the ocean, and very specifically, it's how you deal with the ocean. The ocean is, if you don't deal with the ocean in a house in a subtle way, you end up with the ocean being something which is quite threatening in terms of the spatially inside the house. Because you've got booming waves, roaring storms, all those sorts of things. And so to me, it's always a challenge as to how to deal with the actual the ocean as a presence inside the structure. So it's a way of actually breaking that down to say how you frame the view and how you frame the spaces, using materials to comfort and to warm you, but also to give you a reprieve from the vastness of the outside, effectively. And then the other aspect is that while the ocean is the main presence for the site, there are other views which are pretty important in capturing, and that was going to be the escarpment and some of the distant coastal views to the north as well. It wasn't while it looks on plan a simple site, there's always complexities, and this was a complex one. The house needs to orient itself to the ocean. It's the principal view, it's the principal openness to the site. But the northern side of the house, with the neighbour quite close, we had to put in as much glass to get the winter sun in as we could. Also to protect ourselves from the summer sun with deep eaves. So there's a central atrium in the house which is the staircase, the main circulation point of the house, and that's got a wall of glass to the north, and there's also a concrete slab on the lower floor to be naturally warmed by that the winter sun coming in. It also acts as a heat sink, which works both for the winter warmth but also for the summer cool. It stays cool all summer because it's protected from the sun by the deep eaves. Definitely, we're tucked down from the road. I was always very conscious of that. For example, the viewing of the ocean from the main road. So coming into the site, there's a view from the driveway directly down to the ocean beside the house. The house is not in the way. Viewing the house from walking alongside the road, which is the main public's viewing of the site. The roofs are not steeply pitched. They're not coming up too high above the horizon line, for example. So definitely the aspects of the house being in the landscape below down the slope, not standing up and prominent and in front of the main viewing aspects, to me was pretty important. I think there's one aspect which has always been attractive to me, and that is that we as I said, we try and use that, connect the house or aspects of the house back to the local environment. The timbers which are used on the internal window systems are all recycled timbers which are put together by a local timber window manufacturer. He buys recycled timbers from old houses which are taken down from around this area. All those old houses, especially the old cottages, were from timbers that were cut from trees on the escarpment above us. So there's, to me, that story of a continual link from the landscape to the materials back into the house is very important. I quite often, for example, use the blackbutt veneers, which are on the cabinetry in the house. Blackbutt is a very common tree on the escarpment, one of the massive trees that we have on the escarpments above us, so they're not necessarily directly the same trees, but they are the species. So again, I like to use the senses of connection between the living environment and the natural environment back into the house. For me, a successful house, and particularly this house, is always in the way that the entire house is a result of collaboration. It's collaboration from the client to the designer, to all the designers, landscape, architecture, to the builder, who is as important in the process in terms of making choices and suggesting alternatives in the whole process. So I've had a lot of experience with Kieran with various ways. We've had sort of a long experience, but in terms of the process, working with Kieran is just amazing in terms of both from the very first stages of approach to this is what we're doing, this is the project we're doing, and the interactions in terms of, well, these are going to be the issues we're going to have to deal with, for example, in terms of site, in terms of budget, through to Kieran's interactions with the clients, which are very upfront, very open, and to me, one of the key successes in terms of how a project goes, and certainly how this project went, for example, is the way that Kieran can actually say that these are the concerns that we're going to be facing in the entire process. And being very interactive in terms of how those problems become solutions to actually get us into both budgeting but also the site constraints. So it's vital, it's absolutely vital in a successful project. The builder and the entire team blend in that way. A lot of these things you don't know right from the start. Because they only become apparent when the design, the DA, the development application, gets sent out to the various parties that it impacts, and then the council gets back the responses. And the response from the main roads people was pretty explicit that virtually any construction that we were going to do in relation to the road being downhill from the road was that we had to effectively hold the hill together for them so the road would never move. So the constraints of trying to, put as much structure as we could together and having the engineering to make that happen was very tight. And was a surprise, definitely, by the time we actually got to the nuts and bolts of what they were asking us to do and what the engineering solution was. It was a very complicated footing and site treatment to actually make that happen. There's a Swedish term which is hygge, which is very hard to describe into the English, but it's the Scandinavian term is about how you wrap the body, how you protect the warmth of enclosing the body. It's clothes, it's things like that. So to me, a space should have hygge. And that comes through from materials, it comes through from light, it comes through from the way it can open, the way it can close, the adaptability of the space, the comfort of the space. To me, that's one of the more important things about design, that you can create a space that has hygge in it. Other things, maybe, for example, I've always been appreciative of Japanese design, Japanese ceramics, for example, the way that you can get an object which is so much an accident, almost. There's always going to be a design intent, but by the time, for example, you get a piece of Japanese ceramic out of the oven, you don't know what the final finish is going to look like and whether it's going to work. In any aspect of design, you've always got the surprise. how you actually come to the point of standing back and saying, well, how do all those aspects work? And to me, this is one of those houses where they do, because of the levels of comfort, the aspects of materiality, the way that all the design and constructability and construction issues have come together to actually make a pretty successful house for the clients. That's always the key thing.